Good evening. Right, this is my first go at doing a Facebook Live. Bear me 2 seconds. That's the alarm telling me it's 8 o'clock. Right, good to see we've got a couple of people joined straight away. I think what I might do is just sort of say hello to you guys quickly for a minute. Maybe wait for a few more people to turn up. And then we'll start to explain through what we're going to look at this evening. So seeing there's a few of you on there, how are you guys this evening? Have you had a good weekend? It's been nice with the weather recently, that's for sure. Right, so we've got a few more people coming on now. So I think slowly but surely I'll start to talk a little bit about what we're gonna be talking about this evening. So basically what I wanted to do, as I said in the post that I put out on my page earlier on, I've been using Reiki and in some ways more importantly Breath for Life breathwork for 5 or so years now. And what I wanted to do tonight was basically pick one of the experiences that I've had in my life and then sort of talk you through that and what went on. Then talk a little bit about my behaviour afterwards, and then eventually how I went on to do the work around it ultimately and move forwards from it. So without further ado, I will get started. I'll say first of all telling a little bit about the story. So it was a case of a fair few years ago. Obviously being a mechanic, I was doing a private job for a friend. I was working underneath a car and I'm working away, literally sort of hands up in the engine, as you have to at times. And I'm working away and basically the axle stand collapsed, which obviously caused the car to fall on me. Now, at the time when this happened, instantly went straight into shock. Remember lying underneath the car, not really feeling anything. So I managed to slowly wiggle my way out from underneath. And I remember going and sitting in my back garden and just crying my eyes out. To be honest, I didn't know what else to do. Didn't feel particularly sad, but it was a case of I'd had this, this experience, and I didn't know what to think or feel. I mean, I nearly died. It was a shock to say the least. So after this, as time went on, I noticed I started to make excuses, or as I like to refer to them as stories. Reasons why I can't work on cars, or no, I can't do that now. It's not really a job that you want to take on. If you're doing it on your back, that sort of thing, or no, I haven't got the time for that. So anyway, I started making all these excuses or stories around why I couldn't or didn't want to work on cars anymore. To the point I ended up sort of leaving the trade completely. Thankfully, one of my friends was a builder, and he gave me a chance, gave me a job, and I started working on a building site, and that was that. I was never going back to cars. If I'm being honest, I was absolutely petrified to get back underneath. So yeah, for me, there was no way I was ever going to go back into a garage, into that environment. I didn't want it. So, after a while, I basically I moved down to Southampton, and it was a case of all my contacts, all my sort of work was in Woking, where I used to live. And it became quite apparent to me that actually no longer could I continue working in the trade, without so in the building trade, this is without having any qualifications or anything like that. So it come time to make the decision that actually I've got to go back into a garage. I have qualifications, and that sort of thing should be there to fall back on, if you need them sort of work-wise. So it left me with a bit of a problem. And like I say, using the tools that I've found, I took this experience, this situation, to a breathwork session, or a Breath for Life breathwork session. And basically what that allowed me to do was to go through the scenario and the situation, to unpick it and work out exactly what was what. I mentioned at the start that I went and cried. I wasn't feeling sad. Like I said, I just didn't know what else to do. And that sheer terror, that fear for my life, I had not felt. It was a case of, I wasn't ready to feel it, wasn't prepared to feel it, so I cried instead. And that was the thing that was holding me back and stopping me from ultimately moving forward with my life, which was at this time trying to set up a life in Southampton, having moved down there. So, I went in, like I say, done this Breath for Life session, and then started to tease out the gold from it. And it gives you the clarity once you take away the emotion that's sort of holding you back, or maybe stopping you from moving forwards. Once you transmute that, we would like to use that word because you're not giving away or getting rid of them. You're just actually allowing them to come back in as they should be, with more flow. Imagine taking a huge log out of a river. You're going to have a better flow through the river. It's that sort of thing. So I've done that. I've taken the time. I've done the work with some help and support from the Breath for Life practitioners. They've helped me to see the bits that I was missing and really work out that actually I'd created an irrational fear that I kept telling myself stories, kept making evidence for, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Once I'd done the work and cleared the emotion, it was a case of going back into a garage. I went out, spoke to a few recruitment companies. I don't know, maybe within the space of a week, I had a new job. I've now been sort of back in the trade, shall we say, for I think 2 or 3 years now. And for me, the thing that makes me smile about it is initially when I had this experience, it was a Citroen C5 that fell on top of me. And I now actually find myself working for Citroen on that exact make of cars. And that's the thing I did. I just wanted to come on here and share a little bit about that. Just to let people know that actually, we all get stuck with things in life, regardless of what that is really. On this occasion, it was being in utter terror and not being able to get past that, and there are a million and one other sort of experiences and things that we go through in life that can have an effect on us. And it's just sort of saying that, actually it is okay to not be okay, or to not be good, I should say. And that there are ways of working through and dealing with these things, because it's a case of, when you've got something holding you back, we tend to almost get a little bit stuck in it. And basically, once again, going back to the stories, we would tell ourselves this and we would tell ourselves that, and we distract and we dodge and we go left and we go right. And ultimately, we don't actually go forwards. And sometimes you do just need that little bit of help to just say, well, actually, you're dodging left and you're dodging right, but the door is right there in front of you, Just a second. And I just want to share, I saw a little video on Facebook the other day going through. In fact, I've got a couple of questions come up, and it does appear an appropriate time to stop and ask a few questions. So start with Adina, and how can others use breathwork in their lives? Very good question, and it's kind of a bit of an open answer, because ultimately you can use it for anything and everything. For me personally, I tend to try and do a Breath for Life breathwork session at least once a month. For me, I feel it just helps with the regular maintenance, so to speak, your everyday lives, whether it be a situation at work or a situation that comes up at home, or when you're out walking the dogs, or whatever the case may be. We pick up things that displease us or make us feel sad, this, that, the other, as we go through life. So for me, I use it once a month as like a maintenance type thing. As for others, it's individual to everybody. You can use breath work just as and when you need it. You can you can commit to it and maybe join something like a foundation course or something like that. So yeah, it's there are many ways to use it within life. I think it's probably the best way to answer that one. Amy's put, how important is the breath? The breath, I would say, is probably the most important thing. Just taking that time to just hi Penny, and yeah, the breath is what actually allows us to get out of the way of the part that thinks they know what's right and wrong, and into the part that actually knows what it needs to do. So yeah, for me the breath is everything, I would say, Amy. Beverly's put, what happens in a breathwork session? Basically a breathwork session, I mean there are various types, but if we're talking on, say, a one-to-one level, basically the breathwork practitioner is there to help relax you and get you ready into the swing of the breath. So there's a little process, and they will talk you through that, and then they will sort of relax you down into it, and then you will start the breath. And from there, we describe it often as like a train journey. So you get down and you get in the first 5 minutes, you're settling in, and you away, and you get settled and you're getting comfortable. And then you find, focusing on the breath, you start to build a bit of momentum. And then it's like being on a train, and you're plodding along and you're going through, and that's when you're starting to work through and process the stuff that's not helping you right there and right then. So from that, you may come up against something that's, should we say, a little bit more than just your average general, day-to-day issues, should we say. And that can be a bit scary at times, a little bit daunting, and that's where we refer to it as sort of coming up to Birmingham, because you've been pumping along, breathing through, and then you hit this emotion, and that's when it's key to just keep it flowing and keep it moving. And a lot of the time that is when the practitioner comes into their own, because it's very much about, you're the one on the train, you're the one doing that journey. However, there is someone there to help and support you along the way, maybe with a word of encouragement or that sort of thing. So does that answer that question for you, Bev? And while we're sort of on the questions, is there anybody that has anything they would like to know or would like to ask about what I've said so far? Just going to hold on for a quick second, have a little drink. All right, okay, so yeah, there doesn't seem to be many questions. So I think I'm just going to sort of go back to what I was going to say a moment ago and come back to something I was watching. Can help breathwork help clear my allergies? Um, yes. Ultimately, you know, with a lot of things, you know, you can work through anything. Um, so yeah, obviously, you know, it would depend what the allergies are there sort of for as such. Where can I do a breathwork session? There are many different avenues where you can do a breathwork session. I've put a link in the first comment, which will take you straight through to my low cost clinics. However, if you look on the Aquantwike website as a whole, there's a list of all our practitioners and all our events and stuff, and sort of breathwork taster sessions and that sort of stuff that is up there for everybody to sort of view and browse at their leisure. Emma, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think, yeah, everybody could gain something from breathwork, is my honest opinion. Emma, sessions are about 2 hours long. We set 2 hours sort of for the appointment as such, but the breathwork itself is normally around an hour and a half. Yeah, just quickly as Penny's put on there, um, actually referring back to Rita's question about allergies, and yeah, when you do start looking through and clearing suppressed emotions, and actually you tend to find that health and also all sort of manners of self tend to start to improve. Right, so I think I've spent a little bit of time talking through sort of a little bit of my experience and that sort of things. I think, you know, I'll leave you guys to enjoy the rest of your evening. But I'd like to say, you know, any questions or anything that heats up for anybody, feel free to get in touch and ask. You know, and any feedback as well. Obviously, being my first live session, you know, all feedback is great feedback. So I say thank you all for tuning in and watching, and maybe I'll see you in a week or two for another video. Thanks a lot.